Hi, I'm Jazmin, and this is Not Another PD. It's for helping professionals who are tired of theoretical training that doesn't translate to the work you actually do. Here, we talk boundaries, leadership, systems, and how to protect your well-being while doing complex work every day. I'm so glad you're here. Episode 28. Welcome back to Not Another PD. Today I'm joined with Susan, and Susan is a current social work student based in Perth and a mother of three. Before entering social work, she was a teacher and she's the founder of Multicultural Drama Dance, where she developed and led creative learning programs. Her transition into social work brings a unique perspective on leadership, power, and what it feels like to go from being experienced in one field to new in another. Welcome, Susan. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you. And Susan, you went from being a teacher and founding your own music program to becoming a social work student. What did it feel like for you going from experienced and already established in your career to brand new again?
So, thank you once again for having me, and a beautiful hello to your listeners. Well, this is the best question I've heard this week. Transitioning from an experienced trained teacher and cultural art founder to social work student qualifying brings both humility and vulnerability. Seeing myself move from a place of expertise to that of a new learner after shaping communities and leading programs, it can feel exciting yet nostalgic, to leave behind a well established role. Moving countries, which can be a totally different podcast to tell you that move and everything involved and how it influenced me, but somehow it got me to where I am. So now moving professions, I saw myself, you know, starting to realize that I haven't lost anything. I hear myself repurposing rather in my life, I just have this one life. Now, the weekly facilitation program I founded came from supporting young mothers and is centered on cultural families. It came from an innovative me trying to solve a problem, shaped from my background as a teacher. So, all these are my backbone to becoming a social worker in the future. And that space of being new isn't a step backwards. It's a return to curiosity, purpose, and growth, with the richness of my past work giving me a depth that, many new professionals don't get to have.
You did mention that you're a leader in your community and that you've moved to Australia. Did you want to talk a little bit about that? Like where did you move from originally and what that was like for you then establishing yourself as a professional in a brand new country?
Okay, thank you for taking me that route. Well, this is me becoming a trained teacher from Nigeria. And as a young girl, I came from a family where mom was a retired principal. So marriage brought me to Australia, and I didn't plan to come to Australia. In fact, I've started building my life in a way that I was progressing. In a split of 5 years, I was able to become a classroom teacher. So it was a very quick leap to leave all that and move to Australia. But I needed to join my husband and I started building my young family, which took me back to retrain as a community development officer. And when I did, the job space was still challenging with children because I was pregnant at the time and with a baby and juggling all of that. Community development space is quite intense. They really need me like more than 7 hours a day, but I couldn't do that. So that left me, regrounding, taking care of my little ones, and then getting back into the community space with other moms I've met from playgroup, rhyme time. And then I'm like, one thing missing here is cultural people like me. So that was where I said to myself, Susan, you need to set the table. And when I set the table with that foundation, I started inviting them. So that's where I thought of drama dance to bring it to a play approach to life. So we bring the kids, we dance with them. So one of my target was getting these moms and dads involved in their little one's life, making that time like intentionally coming out into the community, getting to know their community, getting to know their neighbors, other migrant residents, sharing ideas. We put up an after school activity for them at the community library just to connect with other multicultural families. So I'm coming from a place of lived experience here.
Yeah, thank you, Susan. It sounds like when you moved to Australia from Nigeria that you saw that there was a need for more culturally safe places. You've created that space and then you thought, well, I'm already doing such amazing work in the community. And
Thank
Susan, as a bit of an FYI to our audience,
you.
you actually did your social work placement with me. That's how we met. Isn't that
Yeah,
amazing? And now you're on my
the
podcast.
most amazing experience of being supervised. I love it.
I learned so much from you as well, Susan, and we had so many robust discussions while you were doing your placement with me. Your placement with me, which is a fully online placement. There's a lot of helping professionals who listen to the podcast that work from home, or maybe they work a hybrid model. So sometimes from home, sometimes from an office or clinic. Can you maybe let us know some challenges of, I guess, working from home?
Well, that's a very tricky question, Jasmine. I'm gonna I'm gonna say that from a learning perspective, I learned that time management is key to working from home. So, like the distraction is enormous. Sometimes it's just cooking and it takes your whole day. Sometimes it's just ironing and you're thinking, oh, these piles of clothes, let me just do it quickly. Maybe I'll be listening to this while I do that. And then there are loads of emails dropping. You can't really be doing that and going through those emails and doing the replies. So these things happen working from home. And I tell you what, it's a big challenge. But one advice I'll give is when you have your diary, all your schedules down, I always do something. I have this my small pad. I try to say my day and I tick off some dot points of things I must not miss. So while I have my phone reminding me with my calendar, there's things I look at, like I constantly come back to look at it. Have I done that? So sometimes I tick it off for the week, and a lot of the time I tick it off for the day. So as long as I'm crossing those items out, then I'm fine. There's so much you're doing at once. Yeah, and you can't give up one for the other.
Yeah, I know what that's like. The minute you get into a meeting, then it's a knock on the door, it's a delivery, especially when helping professionals. That sometimes there's days when you have, back to back meetings, and then you're also consciously aware of, well, I need to pick up my kids from school. They're going to come back expecting dinner straight away, but I
Right.
haven't had a chance to actually get the dinner on. And there's so many distractions when working from home. So I think, your idea of actually having a to-do list of these are the non-negotiable things that you have to do. These are the action items, and actually ticking them off when you go along in your day. And there's something really like empowering about like either crossing off something on your list or ticking it off to say, hey, I've achieved something today.
Exactly, exactly. And it makes me feel better and feel like I've done my best. So sometimes, oh, I've not really done my best, or I've missed my schedule, and it makes you feel like you're not professional enough. But the truth is, you're
Yeah.
doing so much at the same time working from home. So don't beat yourself up. Don't feel guilty. I tap my shoulder and tell myself, girl, you're doing well. So what do you need to do next? I try to do those self-love and it helps me. It just helps me.
And I think it's easy for us to always, put ourselves down and say, oh, I missed, I missed this deadline, or I was late to this meeting because I have so many things in my head. But then I think what you're saying as well is saying, well, don't be too hard on yourself and acknowledge all the good things that you're doing. So many of us that are juggling, working from home, parenting or other sort of caring responsibilities and running a house, pressure is enormous. So Susan, I'd like to start talking about boundaries. Me's my favorite topic of all. Is there any red flags that new helping professionals shouldn't ignore when it comes to boundaries?
Yes, definitely. So it's been people pleasing. It's a big one. People push boundaries intentionally, and you need to protect your boundaries. So for me, people pleasing was a big one. Like even in the office, people will always ask, "Oh, can you help me do this? Susan, are you going out for lunch? Can you help me buy this?" I always see myself being that, "Oh, yes, person, just feel free, ask me, check with me. I'm there." And it leaves me struggling, like really struggling to just do my own lunch and get back to work.
What you were saying about the people pleasing, Susan, I could really relate to, especially early on in my career, in which it feels like the default answer to everything is yes.
As a cultural person, one thing I'll give away as well that will be helpful, hopefully, is when you see a cultured person, there's a lot of processing we do internally than externally. So we are those people that, when you come to the social workspace, there's a theory that really dealt with those internalizing and externalizing. Culturally, whenever you see any cultural person, know that that person is internalizing a lot. So a lot of trauma is internalized, and a lot of yes or no is internalized. So if you know how to find a way of getting it out of them nicely, that'll be fine. And if they're taking their time, that's not ignoring you. And we also have a place kind of issue of trust. We also have issue of acceptance. So, but when you have that understanding, definitely you have a very positive outcome with working with us. But a lot of the time, some people don't have that patience. Like there's this thing about immediately I come into a workplace and I've seen an elderly mom or an elderly woman or an elderly boss, whatever elderly person, automatically there's an expectation of respect and regard. So you don't say no to an elderly person culturally. It must be a yes. In fact, the person is expecting that you will respect and submit because he's an elderly person. But we live in a world where that doesn't really count. And, kind of smoothing everything out and understanding where you're coming from, unlearning some things and relearning and aligning with your workspace is a big one. And a lot of the time, that's what gets us out of even jobs. Like you will hear, oh, your office will not continue by next year, so probably you'll be rounding off this year. Sometimes it has come from a place of not really understanding why the person is not engaging. Another example is somebody I know very closely once went to work and she didn't know there was been complaint for more than four colleagues, saying she doesn't even chat during lunch. But for her, she felt she just arrived, she doesn't know anyone is, she's the older person. So culturally, she was expecting some respect from them and understanding that they need to come to her, not her come to them. But you see, and then another example is you have a baby while you're working, the workplace is expecting you to come show the baby to them. Culturally, it's wrong. A baby is a new mystery and dynasty and our future. You are the one that comes to see the baby, not you, not us not the mom bringing the baby to you. So the workplace has to delegate somebody to come see the new mom that's working with them and see the baby with a gift. You see how some religions will tell you how the baby was gifted? So in our culture, you come and see the baby and gift the baby. This mother has gone through a labor working with you and then delivering this baby. Don't put it more by bringing the baby to the workplace. Culturally, it is wrong.
It's really interesting that you said that, Susan, because I know when I had my second child, I was working in child protection. And one of the first things my colleagues said was that when I was going on maternity leave, they said, oh, make sure you bring the baby. And I remember thinking, bring my baby to a child protection office. Like, no, thank you. But it's
Okay.
you're right to think about, like, well, what are the cultural considerations, and also what do managers need to take into consideration when they have staff from different cultural backgrounds? And instead of assuming someone's not asking questions, they're being rude, but actually think about what if you put it like a cultural kind of understanding on it, then
Mhm.
then there would be less conflict in the workplace because people would actually try to understand the differing perspectives of other cultures, wouldn't
Right.
you say?
Yes, exactly. So with that understanding, I think, yeah, it's gonna help a lot.
So, Susan, I always like to end the podcast episodes with a question around boundaries for my amazing guest. Is there one particular boundary that you would say is sort of non-negotiable in your life that you always make sure that you put in place?
So that's an amazing question anyway, but it's always hard for people to come in terms with you when you set boundaries. And I'm happy to share this one. When I'm not invited on time, I don't attend. So whether it's a work meeting and I saw the email late and probably is clashing with something, I try not to. So I am setting a clear message that this is wrong. And a lot of the time, when those late invitations come and you're trying to be a people pleaser and you go, you're just used like a rag to dust the table and fill up the seat. You're not really valued. But when I'm not properly invited, I do not show up. And I'm happy to apologize. I'd rather not be there than being there for the wrong reasons.
That's really, really powerful. So, for anyone listening, if you want to invite Susan to anything, give her a lot of notice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Susan, so much for joining me. It's been a really interesting and vibrant discussion.
And thank you so much for having me. I really loved engaging. You got me talking about so many things and bringing some sweet memories.
Thank you for joining me on Not Another PD. If this episode was helpful and you'd like to find out more, you'll find ways to work with me in the show notes. And if there's a topic you would like covered or someone you think should be on the podcast, I'd love to hear from you. Remember, clear boundaries don't just protect our clients, they protect us too.